To finish this broom, I like to do a second band of wrapping up here above the solid step of the nylon. But before we put that into the broom, I like to take our loop out from the inside of the broom corn that we made earlier and just pull that down as close as you can to the steps, and that will make a hanger for our broom. So let that hang out of the outside of the broom corn here. And I'm going to take, with the long end of our nylon on the treadle, I'm going to take this and tie just in an overhand single knot. I'm just going to roughly divide the broom corn up here, the bristle ends, and just sort of work this knot down close to the broom to the wrapping as possible. Here again, you're going to wrap this towards it, roll this towards yourself, and I'm going to wrap around about 2 full times before I pull up, just so that we don't pull that knot out from the inside. 2 wraps is generally enough to lock that knot on the inside of your work so that you can keep going from there. Like I mentioned on the first one, I always try to cut my thread tails here, just so they don't come out and pop out later. So now I'm just going to do another solid 1-inch band just to give myself another design element to work with here. If you'd like, you can do this with another color of nylon. If you've got a different color nylon loaded up on your treadle, or someone else has a little bit of nylon left on their treadle, there's nothing special or fancy to this step. You're just wrapping the nylon just side by side next to the previous round here and pulling tight every 2 wraps or so just to keep some tension introduced into the project. At this point, I'm about halfway through my wrap, so I'm going to take my jerk string out again from my neck, put the jerk string under the nylon, lock that into place so that the short loop of your jerk string is on the blunt end of your broom or your cut end of your broom. And now I'm going to continue the wrapping process each time I'm wrapping over top of the jerk string. Every 2 wraps or so, give that a good hard pull up, just to keep tension introduced into the project. The jerk string will also allow you to finish the project so that you don't have any knots visible in your broom as well. That is about 1 inch thick. So I'm going to repeat the process as last time for using the jerk string. You're going to wrap until that jerk string is facing up where you can see it. Press your thumb down onto that nylon where it's wrapping tighter on the broom because there's nothing else holding that tension in place. Again, if you want to add a charm or a stone, cut this tail about 7 or 8 inches, a little bit longer, so you can tie something on. You're going to loop the cut end of your nylon through the short loop of your jerk string, and then pop your thumb onto the other side of that loop, just so you can hold this in place with your thumb so it doesn't come loose. If your long end of your jerk string is tangled up in the broom, untangle that, put it through your shoe, and pull so that you are pulling with the cut end of your broom facing up, and you're going to pull that tight until this pulls the cut end of your loop underneath all of those solid wraps where we caught the jerk string. You have to pull pretty hard usually, but it is worth it. Okay, so this is how the brooms will look at this point. You'll have a step here for the fan, and you'll have a hanging loop coming out of this central part, and you'll also have another 1-inch band here to just act as another design element. But it also does help to keep the broom handle somewhat rounded so it feels a little bit better and more comfortable in your hand to use. At this point, it's just a matter of cleaning anything up that you don't like the looks of. So if you're not going to add a charm or a stone or something to these brooms, you can trim these tails up here. There's one in the solid band, and there's one down here in the steps. So just trim those up close to the broom itself. And then I always like to trim the bristle ends down here where there's always going to be some sort of outliers and scraggly bits. So take your scissors here and just trim these off just so that you more or less to a flat, straight broom here. And same is true with this end up here. If you've got any scraggly bits, you can take a scissor, trim those off somewhat equidistant, or if you'd like, you can also use a knife, like a kitchen paring knife or a pocket knife, any kind of sharp knife to trim these out, just so that they're to a distance that you like. Sometimes people like to trim them very close down here, or if you want to leave them a little bit more wild and scraggly and long, that's okay as well. So that is a fan whisk broom in a nutshell with a hanger already here. If you don't plan to hang the broom or need a hanger on it, you can just, when you first tie onto the broom, you can just work with a single overhand knot, similar to how I did with this solid band here. You don't need to add a loop in the nylon itself. But it is handy sometimes to have a handle built into these brooms so they're ready to hang and use. Thank you.